another one.
This one says, do you have a breakdown percentage for where you store your test data? What do you think is a better solution for keeping test data for automation framework? And this person breaks it down into percentages for us. 7.7% in a database and an API to consume it. 10.8% in Excel file stored in S3 bucket. 41.5% in a JSON file stored in a S3 bucket. And don't get me wrong, I love statistics, I love numbers and all that stuff, right? But why are you trying to figure out the percentage of the location of where the data is going to be stored? I'm going to answer it like this. I don't consider the percentage of of where I'm going to store the data. The way that I consider where I'm going to store the data is the best place for the data to live, right? So I'll give a breakdown about that, right? So this is how I do it. And I'll use Java, for instance, because I can think through my Java automation code faster than I can think through my Python automated code. So when I go from what I need to change, like what needs to be dynamic and where it needs to be dynamic, right? So what I mean by that, if something is going to barely ever change, right? Let's say it's never going to change, right? So an example is I'm filling out a form, and this particular field in the form is always going to stay the same, right? Like there's nothing special about it. So that one I might just hard code it into the code, because like in the test case, when I'm saying let's say I use a page object model, right? And part of the page object model is like whatever to fill out the form. So I'm filling out the form and I say, okay, now this was like, I don't know, what is this? What would I use? What would never change? Let's say phone number. I don't know. Maybe the phone number. But let's say in this particular scenario, phone number is always going to stay the same, right? So I might just hard code the phone number in there, right? And now, so that's that. Now let's go to one layer out, right? So now we would say that in the form, it always needs let's say the name is always going to change, right? So I would take that would be dynamic, right? And I would put that in maybe a data provider, because I'm using TestNG. So the data provider, now I can use different ways to externalize this data provider. And I've done it using Excel. I have integrated it where I took a Google Sheets document, and I had that feeding in the test. The reason that I did that was because I didn't want let's say I wanted to add new rows of test data or edit existing test data. I didn't want to have to always go and update the Excel file that is part of the project. I'd rather update a Google Sheets like from anywhere that's in the cloud, and I could update it through there. So I set up the Google credentials and all that type of stuff, and I was able to do that. So when it comes to like form data and all that type of stuff, I would use like a data provider and store it there. You could do it through a database as well, or a JSON file. It's just I just like the data providers through Excel. It's easier to read and everything like that, right? But like I'm saying, you can do it that way, right? Using the data provider. And now let's say I need to pass data, like let's say different parameters into the test. It might be infrastructure parameters, stuff like that, right? So let's say I want to say which browser I want the test to run on. Then I'm going to use the TestNG XML file and pass that browser parameter in there to say, all right, these tests I want them to run in Firefox. These tests I want them to run in Chrome. Maybe I want to say I want these tests to run in a Selenium grid, right? So I'll pass the URL for the Selenium grid. See, it's not about the percentage of the point I'm making, right? It's not about the percentage of where you store your data. It's what type of data you're storing where. Sometimes we get too fixated on numbers, right? And I know, like, especially for QA, like we're very numbers driven, like very analytical and stuff like that. But you gotta know when's the right time to apply those analytics and when it's time to like apply a different type of logic, a different type of critical thinking, right? It's not, like I said, it's about the type of data. So data that doesn't necessarily, that's not going to change. I might just have it straight into the test because it's not going to change. I don't care about it. If it does have to change for some reason, it's like a one-time thing, right? But data that's dynamic, that I like, so, and by dynamic, let's say I need to have multiple variations of a test running, right? Or I need to add additional test data, like as they come in, I'll have that in an Excel sheet or a Google sheet, which I really like doing it through the Google sheet, right? You can do it CSV, you can do it tab delimited, whatever. You can parse it whatever, however you want, right? But that data is externalized through whatever method you want to externalize it, right? And then, and the same goes for API tests as well, because like I was running about 1,000 API tests on a daily basis from a data provider, which was an Excel spreadsheet. Did I end up? I think I might have ended up moving that one to the Google Sheets as well. But it was running it through there, right? And then like when I would say what environment, what servers and everything like that, that's through my test in XML file, right? Like in the XML file, I'd say, okay, do I want to close the browser after the run? Do I want it to generate a report? That's through the XML file. So, and all of that is test data, right? So you just need to know where to, like what you need to control and where. It's not about the numbers, it's about the quality, all right? So hopefully that helps. And, but that's how I approach test data, okay? So great question, love it. All right, next question.
If you enjoyed the fascinating information shared in this video and you want more, be sure to hit the subscribe button to Tech Coach Ralph to be notified for new videos.
Enigmatic Joker.